Hello and welcome to Smaulgld. In case you missed it, top gold and silver stories for the week ended July 15th, 2017. Presidential executive order: arrest and imprisonment of irresponsible newspaper reporters and editors. President issues executive order to arrest and jail irresponsible reporters and editors and seize their place of business. Fed Chair Janet Yellen strikes dovish tone in congressional testimony, and Trump-Russian collusion theories continue to persist. Let's get to the top story. Let's take a look at that executive order. Whereas there has been wickedly and traitorously printed and published this morning a false and spurious proclamation, which publication is of a treasonable nature, designed to give and aid comfort to enemies of the United States and to their aiders and abettors. You are therefore hereby commanded forthwith to arrest and imprison in any fort or military prison in your command the editors, proprietors, and publishers of the aforesaid newspapers, and all such persons as, after public notice has been given of the falsehood of said publication, print and publish the same with intent to give aid and comfort to the enemy, and you will hold the persons so arrested in close custody until they can be brought to trial before a military commission for their offense. You will also take possession by military force of the printing establishments and hold the same until further orders, and prohibit any further publication therefrom. So there it is, a presidential executive order calling for the arrest and imprisonment of journalists and seizing their place of business. Now, that is not Donald Trump issuing an executive order against CNN or Jim Acosta. That is an executive order issued on May 18th, 1864 by President Abe Lincoln, after there was a publication in a couple of New York newspapers that was purportedly a proclamation signed by the president and by the Secretary of State calling for a day of prayer and fasting because there was going to be another draft requiring 400,000 people to be called into service. So we see that whereas Donald Trump may be attacking the press, he has not yet called for their arrest, imprisonment, and has not yet seized their, and I'm not saying he will, I'm just pointing out here that there has been a lot of talk about the press and Donald Trump's treatment of them. He has not tried to suppress them, he has only argued with them, which is a lot different than actually physically shutting them down by arresting them. In any event, I thought that was an interesting historical note. And now let's get on to the stories of the week. You can check out that executive order. There is a link below. Cryptocurrencies get smashed and gold and silver finally rose. Charts of the week. Let's take a look at this chart here. So a lot of talk about JP Morgan and silver and how they are accumulating silver. One thing is for sure, JP Morgan's COMEX vault, which was opened in 2011 in April, has been accumulating large amounts of silver. We don't know who this silver belongs to, but a couple of points worth mentioning is here's a chart from April 2015, and they had accumulated 55 million ounces of silver at that time, and most of it, 47 million, was eligible, which means it was in the 1,000 bar size that COMEX requires for trading. Not silver eagles. These are COMEX approved eligible bars, and the registered for sale was only about 6.2 million. Let's fast forward to the most recent chart. That 55 million has risen to 112 million, and it continues to go steadily up. The other important point is the registered stocks is only 5.1 million, and that number is actually down from the 6.2 million in April 2015, and that 5.122 million has remained steady for at least, I would say, 2 years. Shortly after that chart up here was published in April 2015, the number dropped to 5.122 million, right here, this number, and it stayed there. So it looks like whoever is putting, or whatever entities are putting silver into JP Morgan's COMEX depository, at least have no intention of selling, and that can change quickly. They are in red eligible form. As you can see, eligible stocks 107 million. They can be quickly flipped into registered, but they're not saying that silver is available for sale. Let's check out some of the rest of the stories of the week. Gold and silver closed up 1.3%. I mean, gold closed up 1.3%, silver closed up 2.4%. One of the few weeks this year that silver has outperformed gold. Silver got a boost up to $15.95 an ounce, up from $15.58 last week, and then gold rose to $12.28, up from $12.12. But the gold silver ratio still remains in the upper to mid to upper 70s at 76.97 to 1. It had almost touched 80 to 1 earlier in the week, but the good strong performance by silver at the end of the week knocked that back a bit. There's your pitch to donate to Smaulgld via PayPal. You can donate via Bitcoin, Litecoin. You could become a patron. That's very nice to do as well via Patreon. All the links are below and on the Smaulgld website. Now let's see. So Indian gold imports are on record pace in 2017. We published the Indian gold imports for May, and they were 124 tons, one of the largest amounts in recent months. We had originally reported that it was 210 tons. That was a mistake. The data provider had included April and May's numbers together to get that number, but still 124 tons of gold, big amounts coming into India in gold. However, gold demand now is dropped supposedly in June as that GST, the goods and services tax, has been rolled out. There had been a lot of gold purchasing and importing due to the anticipation of that tax coming into play. So we may see a bigger fall off in the coming months. U.S. Mint sales update. Well, the U.S. Mint American Eagle sales appear to be back on a decent trajectory. They sold 670,000 earlier in the week, but only 5,000 American Gold Eagles. So that brought the American Gold Eagles sold to date at this point almost just under 1 million, but the American Gold Eagles were 6.5 thousand. If you want to buy American Gold Eagles, American Silver Eagles, you can do so through the Smaulgld site. You can compare pricing and shipping at BGSC, Golden Eagle Coins, SD Bullion, Money Metals Exchange. And if you do buy, you pay no more, no less than you would if you visited those sites directly. And Smaulgld does get a small commission. It's not investment advice to buy or sell gold or silver, but if you are going to do so, you've made your investment decision. Check out the links below and on the Smaulgld site. And the American Gold Buffalo coin, they sold another 1,000, so they're up to about 2,000 this month. Still far below the recent years sales pace. Shanghai Gold Exchange, another point to be made is that we published the monthly gold withdrawals for June. Again, they were strong. Year to date, they're strong. So gold demand in China is strong. And here we have Valley Low. We had one of the Smaulgld subscribers interview series. We had Valley Low come on and tell us about memory sets. You can check that out. Berlin police make arrest over 4 million. They had stole that huge gold coin. I think it was from the Canadian Mint, or I think it was the Australian Mint. It was just mega kilos, and someone managed to get into the Berlin Museum and swipe it. Looks like they're trying to get it back. Let's see what else we had during the week. Not too much. Well, Yellen yacked to Congress, and she claimed the economy is doing well, but she's concerned the Fed might not reach its inflation target. As if the inflation target is really what the American public are concerned about, whether the Fed meets it. They've got everything wrong. They think that the inflation target is somehow, that's the holy grail. If you hit your inflation target, it's got to be 2%, then the economy is doing well. That's like seeing a fast car going really fast down the road and smoke is just pouring out of it. And you're thinking, oh, if I can get my car to have a lot of smoke coming out of it, my car will go faster too. That's just the way the Fed thinks. But she's calling for gradual increases in the Fed fund rate. She's saying the economy is doing well, but they're concerned about this inflation. It's not like you can't have a good economy without inflation, but that's how the Fed has been positioning its rationale. It's all about inflation. They talk about reducing the their balance sheet eventually just by not reinvesting the principal of their maturing securities. I don't know how much more we can listen to her, but she'll probably be the Fed chair for another 6 months. People's Bank of China added no gold again in June. I'm not going to go into my normal rant about how the People's Bank of China is not China, it is just the Central Bank of China, but they haven't added gold since October. 4 interesting developments in the gold and silver markets. That is a blog post by SRS Rocco that made the rounds on Zero Hedge, just about every place that covers gold and silver. A couple of Smaulgld charts in there, but you can check that out. The link is right here. Also, the economic data during the week. Here's your PPI, 2%, producer price index, initial claims. They appear to be about where they've been for the last couple of years, but the core PPI low. So this, you can extrapolate and yell and think that this isn't good because the inflation isn't ticking up higher. Now, you can also argue the way they calculate the inflation is ridiculous, and there is inflation. Not that that's good, but by the way they calculate, they're saying there isn't. And the way they think is because there isn't inflation, it's not good. And by the way normal consumers calculate it, there is inflation and it's not good. Smaulgld put out a blog post and video earlier. I think it was on Friday. Is the US dollar becoming the petrodollar? And it just shows the dramatic increase in US oil production and exports. Remember, the petrodollar is based on the fact that the world needs to buy oil from Saudi Arabia, and therefore Saudi Arabia has to price its oil in dollars and has to accept only dollars. Well, now there's a competitor, Saudi Arabia. The United States is now at about, not a third, but they're getting close, maybe 25% of the exports of Saudi Arabia, and you need dollars to buy oil from the US as well. Here's your CPI, Consumer Price Index. See, no inflation. Not good, according to Yellen. Retail sales were down. That's also not good. In your Keynesian model, you need spending, drive for demand. Retail sales ex autos and gas was down. So not good on the retail sales side, although industrial production was up a bit. That's a very short report for the week, but that's what we have. So please remember to like this video, subscribe to Smaulgld.com. You can fill in your email address right there, and also subscribe to this Smaulgld channel. Follow us on Twitter at Smaulgld. Thank you very much.